idea.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Now, welcome everyone. Welcome to Matri Satsang of Sri Anandamayi Ma, in the presence of her paduka, which she wore on her actual physical feet, and many treasures we have here from Ma. We're here for this wonderful, special time together, which is really a gift from Ma, that this happened when COVID took over the world and we had to go to Zoom. Now we have this access, which people from all over the world are coming, and we welcome all of you. And we're here to invoke the presence of Ma, to tune into the presence of Ma, to hear her words, to study her life, to see how we apply this incredible storehouse of blessings to our own life and open ourselves up to it. Because Ma is just infinite mercy, infinite blessing. And she's right there. She took birth at the longing of mankind, she said herself. And she's here. She's kept that name and that form for us to call upon her and to access her great grace and mercy. And it's just, there's nothing like it. And she always encouraged us to have satsang and to meet together and study scriptures and her words and things. So now we're concentrating just on Ma. It's a wonderful thing. And we're very happy you've all joined us. And like I always say, we started this satsang with the idea of having a place where people who are already touched by Ma's grace can come and meet together and learn more and share their experiences. And we have support and community together. It is so important. So as we always do, and I ask your patience for this, we like to introduce everyone who's here. So let me start with myself, because I'm here talking a lot. So my name is Mangalananda, and I received Diksha from Ma in 1973 at her ashram in Vrindavan. And I've been living in her lineage ever since with some of her great disciples, Swami Bhaskarnanda, Swami Kedarnath. And I was given the title of Acharya by our Mahasaranam ashram and also by Omkareshwar ashram with the instruction to try and share these teachings whenever and however I can. So that's why I'm doing this, and joined by many wonderful workers. And we're going to introduce everyone first. This is my wonderful wife, Gloria.
Jai Ma. It's great to be here.
And
can't wait to hear what's in store for us.
Yeah, we always wait to hear what people are going to share. And my co-host, Pragya Hallstrom, who's the author of Mother of Bliss, a beautiful book about Ma, and the editor and publisher of the most recent 2-volume Gospel of Anandamayi Ma, which we'll read from later, and it's just a real treasure. And also the recent founder and host of our Ma Anandamayi ashram in the Boston area, in Amherst, Massachusetts. And so, Pragya, will you say hello?
Yes, Jai Ma, everyone. So good to see you. I'm right here at the altar of Ma in our meditation hall in our new ashram in Amherst, Mass. And it's just beautiful to be with all of you today. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma. Jai Ma. I want to say one word here. That we are having, those of you who have been here regularly know this, we're having an in-person we're calling it a mini Samyan Sapta. Samyan Sapta means a week of restraint. Restraint's not a good word. A week of intense communal sadhana. And we're having that at the end of September. Let me look at it, make sure I get the date. September 25th, 30th. And our Swami Guru Sharan will be here. I want to quickly show you him. Our Swami Guru Sharananda, who you see here. What is this? Okay, anyway, Swami Guru Sharananda runs our Ma Sharanam ashram in central India. Wonderful, dynamic, incredible person. And he will be here from India to participate in the retreat with us and help teach. And Pragya and I will be teaching, and Saraswati. And it's going to be a wonderful gathering. So look on It's going to be at the Shivananda Yoga Farm in upstate New York. If you look at their website, it's Shivananda Yoga Farm, Yoga Ranch in upstate New York. They have the mini Samyam Sapta there. And Pragya, would you like to say something about it?
Yeah, I was just about to write in the chat. Maybe someone else can write in the chat the link to the Shivananda Yoga Ranch. We're just so thrilled to have Swami Guru Sharan come and spend 2 weeks with us. This is the first time since COVID that he's been here. He used to come every year. And this time he's coming to Amherst here to the ashram in Amherst, he'll give 2 events here. Then we'll have a big fundraiser in nearer to Boston for Ma Sharanam. And then we'll all get in a van, Mangalananda, we'll meet Gloria down there, and we're going to have this amazing 5 days together in a gorgeous ashram with Swami Guru Sharan and all of us sort of following Ma's sadhana that she's prescribed for the Sanyam Saptaha. So please go on the website for the Shivananda Yoga Ranch. For the other events, you can write to us and register. But for this 5-day retreat, you have to go on the site that Saraswati has just put on in the chat. And we just can't wait to see you all there. It's going to be a dream come true for us to have our first Sanyam Saptaha here in the United States. So Jai Ma.
Thank you, Pragya. Yeah, and Ma was always very detached. She even when her ashrams were founded by devotees, so they would have a place when Ma traveled to come and people could meet. Ma would always say, "These aren't my ashrams. My ashram is the whole universe." So she was always attached, but she was very intent in her khyal, her spontaneous method of attention on the Samyan Sapta. Some of the devotees came up with the idea and she approved of it, and she always took great interest in it and in guiding it and encouraging it. So this is something that is really in Ma's idea, because the idea is we meet together and we practice communally and we have talks together, we sing together, we share discussions together, we eat together, and it's a wonderful time. And Ma always said, if you can do it like this communally, then you can add more of this spiritual work in your day-to-day life. So Ma really encouraged it. So it'll be a wonderful thing. Okay, so let's go on. The advertisement's over, but please consider coming, because it's just going to be a very, very worthwhile event. It'll be very uplifting. So as I said, we like to see everyone who's here. So first I want to introduce Katia from Portugal, and she's our co-host today. Will you say hello, Katia?
Yes, hello everyone. It's Katia from Portugal. Very happy to be here.
Good. So Katia will call your name as she's seated on the screen, which is sometimes hard. And when we call you later on, we'll have time for open sharing and talk. But for right now, since we have a few people, let's just say your name and where you're from so we can see your face. So be sure you turn on your video, and on the bottom left of your screen, you got mute. You have to unmute and say hello and then mute again so we don't get any echoes, okay? So Katia, why don't you ask people to check in?
Yes, so first is Blake.
Blake, are you there? You have to unmute.
Hi, I'm Blake. I'm from Dublin, the Bay Area. Jai Ma.
Hi, Blake.
Dilma.
Nice to
Good
see
to
you.
see you. Yes, always good to see you.
Next is Anne-Marie Jensen.
Yes, Jai Ma.
Jema.
Where are you from, Anne-Marie?
I live usually in France, in the south, but now I am in Canada because I have a son who is living in Canada, and for 2 weeks in Canada.
Beautiful.
Yes,
Welcome.
Jai Ma.
yes. Jai Ma.
Jema. Next is Arpita.
Arpita, you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just logged on, so just getting a little orientated. Yes, so my name is Arpita Brown. I live in Florida. Your turn.
Good to see you all.
This is Robert Brown.
Good to see you both. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the Sunday Supper. We know you're coming.
Yeah, well, we have our fingers crossed. Thank you.
Good, good.
David Herring.
We are David and Linda in Virginia, and we recently met Mangalananda and Gloria, who came to Virginia, who presented some of Ma's work here. Jai Ma, we are grateful.
Jay, Marlon, and David. Yes.
It was a joy meeting you. I hope you can make it to the septum. It'll be great to see you again.
Yeah, it was really nice. We did a program at Yogaville, which is a big Swami Satchidananda retreat in Virginia. We gave a program on Ma's teachings, and Linda and David were there. We ate dinner with them twice a day and talked. It was really a joy meeting you guys. Really. Now when I see you on screen, we know you. It's really good. Please do try and join us for the Samya Sapta. It will be very, very uplifting.
Next is Gabe Jackson.
Hello, Gabriel Jackson from Pearland, Texas, and I feel like Ma should be in here to be a part of this, and I'm grateful to be here.
Very good, Gabriel. I'm really glad you make it. I know we've communicated a little bit. I'm very happy to see you. Very happy to see you. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
And Ma and Maharaji are one. You know, they were friends in life. They're two channels, equal channels of spirituality flowing from the same source.
Next is John LeBlanc.
I'm on Gloria.
Hi, John.
Hey,
Tell them
John.
where you're from.
Berkeley. Just after Mass, I swung by Trader Joe's, so I just got home.
Okay. I'm really glad you joined us. John's an old friend. Good, good. Jai Ma, John.
So next is Kathleen Kirchner.
Kathleen from New Jersey, Jai Ma,
There you are. Where are you from, Kathleen?
New Jersey.
Very good.
Jai Ma.
Jai
Very
Ma.
good to see you,
Jai
Kathleen.
Ma. So it's Can't Be.
There we go. Hi, I'm Kent from South Dakota. Jai Ma.
Welcome, Kent. Very good to see you.
Jai Ma.
Wonderful.
So next is L. Jen.
Jen, you there?
Can you unmute?
Hi. Actually, my name is Nishkala. I'll have to change that on there somehow. I'm in Ithaca, New York.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. And I was just thrilled to hear about this, what do you call it, Sapta?
Yes, we're going to be right in your home.
Because, yeah, it's going to be a few hours away, so I may join.
Yay.
Please, please. We'd love to see you. Good, very good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Louise Mangual.
You there, Louis?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Louis, and I'm in Central Hollywood in Los Angeles.
Very good. I'm happy to see your face. We've also been communicating back and forth through emails and things. So happy to see you. Glad you could join us. And I know you're already signed up for the Sunday Supper. I know you're on the list.
Yes.
Happy to we look forward to seeing you there.
Next is Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm from Connecticut.
Welcome, Molly. Good to see you. How nice.
Nice to see you.
And Molly's coming to the Sanyam Sapta too.
Oh, good. That's wonderful.
Jai Ma.
Yeah, we're seeing, many of the wonderful old familiar faces and some new faces, and all are good.
Randy Jordan.
Hello, everybody. Randy Jordan from Western Mass, the Berkshires, and glad to be here. Jai Ma.
Always good to see you. And I think you're signed up already too, right?
I'm signed up. Yep.
Good. Good, good.
Looking forward
And
to it.
Excellent.
Jai Ma. And Saraswati.
Jai Ma, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
Jai
I
Ma.
am from Buffalo, New York, but my daughter is in Lisbon, Portugal. So I feel ever so slightly close to you, Katya.
Yes.
Just for a few
Although
more
I
days.
am on the island, so a bit
Oh,
far away. But closer, yes.
Yeah, she's out in the middle of the ocean somewhere.
And I will be at the Sanyam Saptaha as well, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Randy will be there, everyone, and will be helping as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
And I just want to say, Saraswati is Ma's gift to us. Saraswati has recently been initiated in Kankal into Ma's lineage at Ma's Samadhi. And she is very, very active in helping with the new ashram and teaching with Pragya. She'll be helping and teaching at the retreat. And we love her and we're very grateful that she's our gift, Ma's gift to us for this new phase of our Matri Satsang life. So Katya, who's next?
Yes. Nishkala. I think that's how we say it.
I spoke already. So you see two there? Oh,
No,
no, I see Nishkala.
I did a little trick and changed your name.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
So
okay,
that's
so
why.
we've already seen you and we welcome you. We welcome
Okay.
you again.
Wonderful.
Okay. So that's it. I think. Is anyone missing?
Anyone not get introduced?
Yes, it's Julia Shion.
Ah, Julia.
Welcome, welcome. From Canada. Are you in Canada now or Florida?
I'm in Canada in Ontario. In
Very
Ontario.
good. And we're praying that your healthfulness to come to the Summit.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Jai Ma.
Okay, very good. Jai Ma. So those of you who have been here before know that I like to follow a liturgical outline of things. So we always start with Ma's words of assurance. And because it's always good, when we're praying, we like to know we're being heard. When we're trying to invoke Ma, we like to hear her confirm that she is here. She was here before we got here. And so let's listen to some of Ma's own words that devotees have recorded from time to time. They're very reassuring. She starts by saying, I am ever with each one of you, wherever you happen to be. I mean, that's all inclusive. I am ever with each one of you, wherever you happen to be. But your vision is tied down to worldly matters, and you have little time to direct your eyes to this body in your thoughts and actions. What can I do? But know it for certain that whatever you do in thought and deed, whether you are near or in distant lands, never escapes my loving attention. Just as at a flash of torchlight, your faces gleam forth in their bold outlines, all your facial expressions appear in my mind when you meditate on me or talk about me or sit down to pray to me. So Ma is seeing each one of us now. And as I always say, Ma said many times, you cannot even think of me till I first think of you. So Ma has thought of each of us, and each of us have Ma's grace. Otherwise, we couldn't possibly be here or even be thinking about it. It's always good to remember. She says, solely for you is indeed everything that this body says or does, its actions, movements, its going hither and thither. Whatever is done for your sake with this body at any time, it is you who cause it to happen. She continues, in all your activities, in your sadhana, Ma is with you. And she's speaking third person. I mean, she's saying this herself. Ma is with you. With perfect repose, sit still, thinking. In the midst of emptiness, Ma is with me. This will give you ananda, bliss. Whether you meditate quietly or lay down quietly, always feel Ma is with me at every moment. Here's a few other things she says. She says, I am the visible embodiment of the pure aspiration of all true spiritual aspirants. So in that way, she belongs to everyone. We've called her, we as collective humanity have called her into our midst, and now she's here with us. You ask me, are you within my kin when I am in my all-comprehensive self? She said this to a great devotee. Not only you, even those who have never seen me or heard of me swim into my vision the moment they need me, and I do the needful for them. This is called infinite consciousness. This body, Ma almost always referred to herself as Ye Shiryu, this body. She rarely said I. Sometimes, but usually it was this body says. This body responds also to the fervent cry of those who have never seen it. I am specially in need. Think of this, Ma is saying, I am in need. I am specially in need of those who are unable to shift for themselves and have none to prop them up in their spiritual life. I do not wait for your spiritual readiness. Like the flowing Ganges, I go on bestowing my compassion on all. Whenever anyone does anything depending on this body, if there is a chance of ill fate for that person, it is borne by and manifested within this body. That's why Ma, who had no personal karma, she was no karma. She was totally free being, but she was frequently, if not almost always, in some kind of ill health, because she would take on all these diseases and all these problems from different people, and then we'd find later it was this person's karma, that person's karma. It was manifesting in her own body out of compassion for us. Then she says, if this body behaved with you like an omniscient being, none of you would come near me. So she didn't just say, I know all about you. She knew, but she kept it under wraps. He says, whoever has once been drawn to love this body will never succeed in wiping out its impressions, even despite of hundreds of attempts. This body rests and shall remain in their memory for all times. She says, have faith in this body. Your unswerving faith will open your eyes. And finally, she says something so nice. Anyone calling out for God from any land, in any language, and in any age, remember their cries reach this heart like the waves crashing on the shore. So beautiful. So Ma is doing her part in being here. And so we have to do our part. So as we always say, we're going to be intellectually invoking Ma and thinking of her words, but let's invoke her now with our heart. And that's most easily done through music. So we're going to ask our dear sister Katya to sing this kirtan we usually start with, which we kind of wrote for our ashram in India, which is called Ma Sharanam Ashram, and where we simply say, Anandamayi Ma, Om Ma Sharanam. And Sharanam means a place of refuge, a place of strength and quiet in the storm. So we take refuge in Ma, Om Ma Sharanam. Katya.
Shri Shri Anandamayi Mata Ki Jai. Om Ma Sharanam. 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 Om Sharanam, 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 Om Sharanam. Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam. Anandamayi Ma, One last time, all together. Shri Shri Anandamayi Mata Ki Jai.
Thank you, Katya. It's very beautiful.
Thank
And now
you.
after that, let's just sit for a moment and just feel Ma's presence with us. He's here already listening to us. So those of you who have been coming for quite a while, you remember how Pragya and I went through, I think it was almost a year, where every month we would highlight one of the people that was with Ma and her Leela very closely. And we studied their lives, because this is important also. When Ma had amazing people around her. And those who were very close and moved with her and traveled with her, they're examples to us of how to live in Ma's teaching, how to relate to her. So remember, we studied Swami Bhaskaranaji, we studied Didi Ma, her mother. And Pragya, I remember you presented Swami, who's the Prince Swami? Vijayananda. And we studied Bayaji. We studied all these people, and it's really important. I remember how nice it was every month just to see how they related to Ma. So I want to read something about another wonderful longtime devotee of Ma who helped found the Delhi ashram and who was with her in Simla in the early days. And he really was very, very devoted to Ma. He lived an exemplary life. And that's the important thing. We use him as an example. We see how he took Ma into his life and how he lived her teachings. So it says reminiscence of Mati Darshan Jitendra. So his name was Jitendra Nath Datta. in the Bengali tradition, in Ma's ashrams, we have the tradition we address men as Da. We say their name Da, and the lady is Di or Didi. So we say like Pandu Da was the Brahmachari Pandu who ran the ashram in Varanasi, and Guru Priya Didi we just call Didi. So I've been called before a Mangal Da within the ashram. So let's just read about this wonderful man and his relationship to Ma. Sri Jitendra Nath Datta, known as Jitenda in the ashram. He lived from 1903 to 1974. He had the first darshan of Sri Sri Anandamayi Ma in 1936 at the Shimla Kali Bari. Ma would stay at the Kali Bari frequently when she went up in the Himalayas to Shimla. He was a deeply religious and spiritual man, and seeing Ma for the first time was the culmination of his search for the divinity. Jitenda, who was born around 1903, got Diksha from the family guru, Yogi Maharaj Tulsidas Baba, when he was just 5 years old. And this is another point too. Very few people, some of us had Ma actually as our Diksha guru, but most people had other gurus, and they would send them to Ma because there was absolutely no problem with other people having gurus, different gurus. There was no disloyalty to the guru. The gurus would send them to Ma and say, have darshan of Ma. She's a universal mother. So he already received Diksha when he was 5 years old. Can you imagine? During his college days in Calcutta, Jitenda regularly visited the Ramakrishna mission at Belur Mutt and the famous Dakshineshwar Kali temple. He worked in several places and companies and finally joined the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, to which he stayed attached to the end of his career. He retired as member of the Tariff Commission, like blah, blah, blah. So he had a very successful worldly career also. So the Bengali officers who were serving in Shimla, which is up in the Himalayas, had established Hori Sabha at the Shimla Kali temple. One of their annual functions was the Nam Yagya, held during the month of June, and since most were followers of the Bhakti cult, kirtan became their obvious choice of work. It helped, kirtan is the responsive singing of the names of God, which we do in India very much. It helped because many of them were good singers. This group had religious leanings, and most of them were initiated by renowned saints at that time. In June 1936, Ma visited Shimla and stayed at the Kali Bari temple complex. 2 days after her arrival, the annual Nam Yagya was held in the entrance hall, the Nath Mandir of the deity. The Nam Yagya started in the evening, and soon the spiritual fervor heightened to an intensity that affected Ma. However, she controlled herself and stayed in her room. Let me give a brief description of what a Nam Yagya is. As we said, kirtan is the call and response singing of different mantras and names of God, which is very active, now become very popular in America too. The Bengalis have a particular way of doing it called Nam Yagya. And they will put a beautifully decorated altar in the middle with pictures of Krishna and Radha and Mahaprabhu and Ma. And then people will carry the instruments and straps and the drum and the harmonium and walk round and around in a clockwise motion around this altar singing this name for sometimes 24 hours, sometimes days. And this is called Nam Yagya. And Ma was very intent on always having this whenever we could and wherever. I've been to one with Ma before. And in the Delhi ashram, they even designed the whole hall. It's round, so you can have the Nam Yagya right there. So that's Nam Yagya. So next morning, because the kirtan was going on all night. Next morning, the kirtan continued with similar fervor, and Ma, in a state of bhava, that's inner absorption, came to the satsang hall. She circumambulated the mancha, that's the holy altar, with raised hands, eyes looking up, head bent backwards, face flushed red. See, the divine names were just putting her into the state of samadhi, this divine absorption. She went round with the kirtan party, spinning on one toe, then falling to the ground and rolling on the floor like a dry leaf being blown in the wind. Then she slowly sat up with half-closed eyes, face flushed, and stotras became streaming from her lips. In other words, these Sanskrit mantras became streaming from her lips like the Vedas. Witnessing this, the participants were overwhelmed with joy and remarked that all the symptoms of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Baba. He was a great divine being that lived in the 1500s, who was considered to be a reappearance of Lord Krishna, who would also he instituted this Hare Krishna Hare Ram mantra. All the symptoms of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's bhava were being clearly depicted in Ma. During Ma's short stay in Simla, the government officers and their families had Ma's darshan regularly, drawn to her by her divinity. This was Jitenda's first darshan of Ma. During Ma's next visit to Shimla, Bayaji we talked about earlier, Jyotish Chandra Roy, one of the earliest disciples of Ma and considered our greatest devotee. Bayaji had accompanied Ma. He noticed some very special characteristics in Jitenda and gazed at him intensely. Bayaji was a very advanced yogi. Ma teased Bayaji by saying, Jitenda is married, to which Bayaji expressed surprise, saying that Jitenda did not manifest the signs of being a householder. Ma added that Jiten's wife, Kanti, was a good-natured and devoted, and Bayaji could see for himself when she visited. Bayaji took a liking to him and guided him to observe Ma from a distance and watch every movement of hers to see the manifestation of divinity within her. Bayaji communicated with Jitenda regularly and kept him posted on Ma and her movements until he left his body in August 1937 in Almora. Bayaji went with Ma and Bholenath to the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash and grew ill on the way and left his body with his head in Ma's lap and Ma's hand on his head and looking up and saying, Ma, Ma, Ma. Good death. Jitenda opened his home to Ma's devotees in Delhi, Calcutta, and Mumbai. It became the home for all inmates of the ashram who often came and stayed for long periods to seek medical treatment in these big cities. Jitenda often paid the travel expenses of the kirtan party when Ma expressed desire for a Nam Yajna to be held at different places. He had to borrow often to meet the financial commitments. Bayaji was responsible for motivating the devotees to construct the Delhi ashram. Prior to this, Ma used to tell him to set aside a day every fortnight and spend it in the contemplation of God, doing japa and reading scriptures. The efforts of few of these devotees and their contributions led to the construction of Ma's ashram in Kalkaji, Delhi. That's the Ma's ashram in Delhi. Some of us here have been there. The men spearheading this project were Jitendra, Dyanendranath Dutta, who was Jitendra's older brother, and Rai Bahadur Narayan Das. The construction of the ashram was done in phases over the period of 1953 to 54 up to 1969. Okay, just talks about that a little bit. At one point, Jitenda grew very ill. Back in Delhi, Jitenda's condition deteriorated and he developed acute pleurisy and was soon confined to bed. One afternoon, the attending doctor informed Kanti D, that's his wife, that the medicines were ineffective and Jitenda's condition was crucial. In the middle of that night, Kanti D became aware of a sweet perfume surrounding them. Jitenda, who did not have the strength even to turn, suddenly sat up. Kanti D rushed to him saying, "What are you doing?" Jitenda answered, "Ma, Gurudev, and Baiji have come. Now do pranam to them." The fragrance lingered for a while before gradually fading away. The next morning, a doctor who visited Delhi was surprised to see the improvement in Jitenda's health. Slowly, he got better and recovered completely. In 1964, Jitenda constructed a house in New Delhi, but would not perform the Griha Pravesh, that's the blessing of the house, determined that Ma should enter the house first. Hence, he lived in a rented house nearby. Because Ma would not enter a house where people live. She either stayed with sadhus or in temples or outside of places. But she had very strict ways of going about things. A year later, Ma visited Delhi and surprisingly, instead of going to the ashram, went to Jitenda's house and stayed there for 4 days without leaving for even a short while. She stayed out in the veranda. Devotees came from all over to visit Ma, who was welcomed and fed prasad like the custom followed in the ashram. The Panchen Lama, Rahindra Tyabji, the famous lady Muslim saint who worshiped Krishna, and a Christian priest also visited on their own. On the third day, a Nam Yajna was held in the evening. Next morning, the devotional fervor of the kirtan reached a pitch, and Ma circumambulated the munch in bhava. All were overwhelmed. In other words, she was showing these same amazing divine traits as the divine names instigated this incredible feeling within her. Few people even experience spiritual bhavs themselves. On the 5th day, as Ma was leaving for Vrindavan, she rolled on the floor in front of the mancha at the far end of the drawing room. Then Ma instructed the temporary manch should not be dismantled right away, but kept for a week and arati performed in the evening. Thereafter, having had his wish granted, Jitendra and Kantida moved into their new house. Ma, who never entered a domestic house, made several surprise visits to Jitendra's home. In response to a query, why she entered Jitendra's home, Ma said that it is not a home, but is more like an ashram. In September 1974, I was in India with Ma at that time. Jitendra and Kantidi visited Ma in Vrindavan, where a Bhagavat Sapta was scheduled to start from September 23rd on the Radha Ashtami day. Over the weekend, Jitendra's sons, Gopal Da, his family, and Pantu Da drove up from Delhi to celebrate in Ma's presence Gopal Da's son, Annaprashan. That's the first feeding of rice to a baby. It's a ritual of samskara. On September 22nd, he fell ill again. In the early hours of September 23rd, around 3 a.m., Jitendra had the urge to use the bathroom. As he stood up, he had a heart attack and collapsed. Kantidi tended to him, giving him medicine and whatever she could bring him relief. When she said that she would quickly go and inform Ma, Jitendra replied, "Isn't Ma everywhere?" Within a short while, uttering the words, "Ma, Ma, Ma," Jitendra left his body. Earlier that day, Ma had asked Pantuda thrice at different times and in different locations whether he was on leave from work. This surprised Pantuda, and he asked his mother whether he should stay back. She felt that he should proceed as he had to work the next day. So Pantuda and Gopada had left for Delhi. In retrospect, Pantuda says this incident was a big learning to never question any of Ma's directions. So Ma was trying to get him, knowing beforehand he would leave his body to stay with his brother to take care of him. Simultaneously, Ma had a kiel to proceed to Modi Bhavan, but nobody was nearby to accompany her. She reached a little while later and sat down, touching Kantidi, his wife, whose hand was resting on the dead body. Then sorrowfully she said, "Jiten went away like this." Her bhavra at that time was as if her own child had left. She continued sitting next to Kantidi for an hour more. The dead body of Jiten was brought back and laid down in front of the Chaliya temple. Joginda had received the news and collected the main arga of Bhaiji, which is usually given to saintly persons or sadhus. This arga was placed on Jiten's head and sanctified chandan paste was smeared on his forehead. Ma was standing on the stairs of the Chaliya temple, directing everyone on what needed to be done. By that time, Gopal Da and Pantu Da had returned from Delhi. Anyway, so they go on. Okay, gents, they burned the body on the banks of the Yamuna. And so the water in the Yamuna was knee deep, but as the pyre burned, it was observed that the water crept closer, eventually touching the pyre, even though there was no appreciable increase in the quantum of water flowing in the Yamuna, that's the river. This vivid change was noticed by all with amazement. Afterwards, while taking their baths in the Yamuna, Gopal Da and Pantu Da waded to the center of the river and sat on the riverbed with the water reaching below their chest. They cupped their hands to splash water to wet their bodies. This strange occurrence was described to Ma, and she said that Yamuna herself touched the departed soul, and Jiten had carved his own path to spiritual realization. Then she revealed that his Ishtamantra was that of Krishna, and since he had taken his initiation in childhood, he had got the mantra corrected by her. Ma spoke continuously about Jitendra and said that Jiten closely followed Baiji's principles of life. Then her own, Ma started narrating Jitendra's spiritual state and expressed how he showed the way to salvation through sincere devotion. So it's just very encouraging to read, about a successful devotee and how he just dedicated his life to Ma and to spiritual practice. And what does it mean to dedicate one's life to Ma? It means to try and follow spiritual practice for self-realization, to become one with God, to become aware of God, which is the illness of our human condition is we've forgotten God. We've forgotten our connection with the wholeness of unity of life, unity of consciousness. And that's why Ma came. Ma came to open the doors of that experience to us. So here we have this wonderful, this wonderful man, a married man who lived his life devoted to Ma. Let's read one quick word from Ma, and then we'll go on to Pragya's reading. Ma says, for those who are pilgrims in the path, it is imperative to forge ahead vigorously, energetically, and steadily with great speed. Sitting in a rickety oxen cart will not do. Dynamic strength of mind is always needed. You yourself have to mold your own life. Keep this in mind. So, okay, well, we're going back and forth from intellectuality and the movement of the heart. So let's do another kirtan, and then we'll go to Pragya's reading, okay? So this kirtan is simply Jaya Ma, Anandamayi Ma. And then we say, Karun, this suffix Mai, M-A-Y-I, we say Anandamayi. The suffix means it's filled to overflowing, like a cup overflowing with water, with whatever quality is said before it. So Anandamayi means overflowing with bliss. And in this kirtan, we call Ma by Anandamayi. We also say Karunamayi. Karunamayi means overflowing with compassion. Okay.
Original sound, Mangalananda?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, because it doesn't work if you don't have a sound on. There you go. Jaya Ma, 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 Anandamayi Ma, Jaya 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 Jaya Ma, 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 Jaya Ma. Karunamayi He Ma, Anandamayi He Ma, 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 Jaya Ma, So let's turn on the sound. Let's go to a reading from Pragya's book. And Pragya, if you could, for those who are here for the first time, give us a brief description of your book and please give us a reading.
Sure. Jai Ma, everyone. So this is volume 2 of the Gospel according to Anandamayi, Sri Anandamayi Ma. And volume 1 has a different picture, a younger picture of Ma. And in 1987, I was gifted some translations from tapes of Ma's talks that have never been published. And the translations were done by a pandit who was not a devotee of Ma's, and he had a lot of commentary in them. But they were the kernel of the translation. And so our friend Swami Guru Sharan, who you saw in the beginning, who's coming soon, he saw them at my house and he said, Pragya, this is like a gold mine. You have to publish these because these are the words that Ma spoke over 20 years. And so he really encouraged me. That was the seed of the encouragement. So with my friend Jaya, who's not here today, but she is Ma's grandniece, grandniece, and she is a Bengali speaker, obviously. She helped me translate these properly. And I spent 7 years on it. She and I were together for the first part of that. So we're reading today from tape number 77, which the conversation took place in Dehradun, June 19th, 1962. And I love this conversation just because of how Ma insists on taking things back to the highest absolute. Questioner, I am the Atma. He is only one. Shri Ma. And? Questioner, and infinite. Shri Ma. And? Questioner, Chit Swarupa, all consciousness. Shri Ma. Chit Swarupa. And? Questioner, Sukha Swarupa, all happiness. Shri Ma. Sukha Swarupa. And? Questioner, Shiva Rupa, the form of Shiva. Shri Ma. Shiva Rupa. And? Questioner, Brahma Rupa, the form of Brahma. Shri Ma. Brahma Rupa. And is that all? And Ma laughs. The questioner says, Sarva Rupa, he who is in every form. Shri Ma says, so he is in all forms, nothing else? Questioner, the one that appears is he, the one who sees is he, the one who speaks is he, the one who hears is he, what happens is he is everything. It is said, even a blade of grass does not move without him. Sounds like this questioner is a very elevated person, has very good understanding. Shri Ma, yes, you are correct. Hari Katha, the story of God, is the only Katha. To talk about God is the only talk. Everything else is nonsense. The place of rest is where Rama is. Without Rama, there is no Aram, peace. Pitaji said, it is Rama and Rama only. Anything that appears is only Rama, only Shiva, only Brahma, only one Atma. There is no question of other. And he is eternal, indestructible. He does not have any old age. He is immortal. He is Amrita. Whether you hear or not, it is he only. People practice sadhana only for his manifestation. They wear saffron clothes and become a sannyasin only to obtain him. They become a brahmacharan, a celibate, only to have his darshan. The desire is there to feel him, and we hope to experience him one day or another. But even experiencing is not the end. It also does not work. Why? Even at that stage, there were three things: the experience, the experiencer, and the experienced. This triputi, this bundle, the knower, the known, and the active knowledge still lingers on. Triputi means three bundles. We must move beyond them. We must rise still higher. We must go still beyond. where we can become one Brahman and one Atman. Satyam Jnanam Brahman. Brahman is pure existence. He is knowledge. He is infinite. Samsara, the world of change, means sam plus sara, one that goes on forever and never stops. It is the place of all doubts, of all illusions. Questioner, the one that creates illusion and confusion is called samsara. Shrima, therefore, what should you do? Do japa all the time. Remember him all the time. Meditate upon him. Keep him always in your mind. Do it. Take action. He is already there in you in the form of action. When you act, you become one with that action in you. You become vrati, one who takes a vow in order to act. Vrati means one who is pledged and does it at all costs, never abandoning it. There is that in you. When you become a vrati in order to perform an action, that twam, with a capital T, God, will manifest, and you will see that there is nothing else except that you. You will become nir-avaran, without the veil of ignorance. The avaran, the veil of ignorance, will be removed. Ignorance will disappear. That sun is always there shining in you, but the clouds do not allow you to see him. Those clouds will melt away when you start to take action. All of those things that are to be removed will be removed, and that one indestructible, eternal light will manifest before you. This is the purpose of doing bhajan, kirtan, and sadhana. The nitya, eternal, is entangled with the non-eternal, transitory world. And due to that, a person is undergoing pain and suffering. He is covered with ignorance. How to remove it? How beautifully he has arranged everything. The self itself has taken the form of the avaran, the veil of ignorance. If the personal self contacts that self with a capital S instead of the world, the avaran will disappear. What is this avaran? It is duality, the existence of a second. Avoid that duality. When a person is engaged in all of these, bhajan, kirtan, dhyanam, puja, pat, chintana, and smarana, remembrance of God, the thing that creates this duality will disappear, and he will become one. When a vessel is dirty and soiled, people cleanse it with tamarind and earth. It is rubbed. By rubbing, the dirt is removed. Similarly, all these things are the ingredients for scrubbing a dirty mind. Once it is scrubbed well, the dirt is removed and the shine of the vessel returns. The name of God, the mantra given by the Guru, is meant for rubbing the dirty mind to cleanse it and bring it back to its original brightness. Mantra is meant for saving the mind. If you go on reciting that mantra, remembering him, meditating upon him, and hearing the recitations from the scriptures, a moment will come when suddenly the veil will be removed and you will have his darshan. Jai Ma.
Wow, that's really powerful. The truth is, if we only had that one saying of Ma, these 2 pages or whatever it is you read, we could spend the rest of our life contemplating that and trying to live it. So what are your thoughts, Pragya?
Oh, just the same. You know, actually, I read this morning at the UK Satsang, and I have to say, when I'm asked to do a reading from this book, or either book, I open it like this. I let Ma pick the reading. And then every time I say, this is the perfect reading. This is all that we need. So I think what's extraordinary about this is she's given us all the ingredients, first of all, giving us the hope that if we do these practices, you know, devotional singing, devotional chanting, spiritual practice, you know, she goes on and on with this list of things we can do, spiritual reading, thinking of God, puja, meditation, then we can remove this avaran. So to imagine that we could go from this experience of feeling like a separate person into feeling the oneness, being part of the oneness, is just so thrilling. And of course, she's not saying we can do this instantly. It's not going to happen instantly. But I just love that she's giving us this recipe for changing our perspective from duality to the perspective of the eternal. So I don't know. That's all I can say right now. It's
That's a
simply
lot.
amazing.
It's good. Yeah, it's true. It's everything's contained in this reading. What I see in it is there's other places I've both heard her and also reading the book where somebody comes out like this original speaker with all these philosophical ideas. Oh, Ma, blah 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 blah. And she, at one point she says, not to this person, to another person, she said, "Now you learned this, you read this in a book, right?" He goes, "Yeah, I read it in a book." And then she goes on and says, "You have to make this your own experience before it means anything." But in this reading, what strikes me is it's a perfect example of how Ma spoke from this uncompromising level of non-duality, of Advaita, non-duality. She just would always say, there's only one existence, and we're all a part of that, and we're not separate. And she would just speak uncompromising. It cannot be this duality. Wherever there's two, there's pain, she would say. So she always says, you can't even stop, as she said in the reading, you can't even stop where you're having the experience of God, because still it's you having the experience. So she says you have to go to total absorption into God. There's just one. So she speaks in this level of Advaita, but then what she always gives as the formula is straight bhakti. So she would tell some people to do this atma vichara, this inquiry, more of an intellectual type thing, if that was her nature, because she didn't have one thing that fits all. She would tell people according to their temperaments. But generally, she talked about bhakti. I hear she says, she uses the term a lot, avran, this veil, because we know that inside we're told in all the yogic tradition, in the Sanatana Dharma tradition, that we are perfect inside. There's perfect divine consciousness within us, but we're not experiencing it because we've become fragmented. And the veil is made up just of the restless mind, of the desires, of all the impressions. So she talks about how to get rid of the avran. And she says, it's the remembrance of God that does it. So it's pure bhakti. She says, we remember God in any way we can. And then she gives the very things, to do it. The reading of scriptures, the chanting of his name, meditation on his name, japa, these things, she says, it will dissolve that avran. So I always find it interesting that she's a Vedantist from her viewpoint, but she's a bhakta from her prescription of a spiritual medicine for our illness. Oh, we got something here.
I also like that she said, this is going to scrub away all the dirt.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, the Guru mantra is what scrubs away the dirty mind, she said. It's true, that's the problem. Just that we have impediments in the mind, and the mantra will take it away. It's really true. And she says, the more we contemplate God, because think of it, in the human condition we find ourselves trapped in, it's always basically it's all about me. It's like we have this tiny little bubble that we always go in. Me, I'm this body, I'm this mind. And bhakti is the thing that begins to take us out of that beyond something more. Even when people came, in the political movement, when people came to there were the followers of Gandhi and the freedom movement, to freedom from the British. I would say this is a good thing because it's expanding you beyond your little self into service for the country. So you're identifying more with the nation now. So that was good. She said marriage is good because it takes you out of just being your little self and extends you into the being of another person. So bhakti is the thing that breaks us out of this small little bubble that we tend to be in the ego. And then remember God first. First, we do remember God as a separate entity. We do start dualistically. Okay, God is there. God is inside of us, but also outside of us. And this remembrance it gives us the remedy of pulling ourselves out of this horrible little loop of just being involved in ourselves, small self, so much. And bhakti is such a wonderful thing because the more we uncover it. I just gave a whole class. Linda and David were there at Yogaville, but we talked about how you don't have to make devotion in yourself because devotion is already there. Ma said again and again. It's so encouraging, like Pragya was saying. She says, you have this within you. She says, the state of a rishi, the state of a yogi, the state of a mahayogi are in each one of us, but it's covered up by this avarana. So in the real path of bhakti yoga, according to Ma, we're not trying to have devotion. We're not trying to feel something. We're trying to uncover this great depth of devotion that every soul has. And we use the tools. We use the mantra, the very things she's talking about, mantra, pat, japa, dhyan, kirtan. These are all ways of beautiful ways of remembering God. So yeah, the whole remedy is right there. Any other thoughts, Bridget?
Well, I was just going to say that I've taken to doing a practice in the morning of 108 names of the goddess Lalita, which, as you and I both know, from the time we interviewed Ashok Baba, Ma was the goddess Lalita and turned into her when our friend Ashok Baba came to her and she was going to give him the practice of worshiping Lalita. So one of the verses that's my favorite verse in this, it's about a 20-minute chant I've been doing every morning to Ma, all her different aspects. One of them that just really, I just love so much is that Lalita is Parabhakti Varade. So the goddess Ma actually brings us devotion to her. So this idea that the greatest devotion, Parabhakti, is part of what is offered to us by the Divine Mother. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
So often in the, thank you, Pragya, that was really amazing. I'm going to go a different direction. But so often in a lot of the bhajans, you find your identity. You know, like one by Kabir where he says, I'm a foolish and ignorant child, please teach me. Your child makes mistakes again and again, but still you love me. That tells me who I am and who you are. I'm just the child.
Yeah, it's a good vibe. And to be reassured that we are loved by God.
Yeah.
One of the worst things religions have done is turn God into this horrible bad guy who's going to condemn you to hell and all this stuff. It's just a terrible thing. Yeah. Saraswati is one of our teachers in our ashram now. Do you have any comments on this or any thoughts?
I love that reading because there's this subtext sense that Ma believes in all of us and just, you know, believes in not in our ability to reach the highest. And gosh, that just is so reassuring and so comforting to have that assurance from Ma. So I really loved that reading. Thank you so much, Pragya.
Yeah, that was a particularly wonderful reading. In the Sikh tradition, they do the same thing. They open their scripture, the Guru Granth Sahib. They call it a hukamam, where they just pray and open it up, and what it was, that's God speaking to them for that day. So it's a very good practice. I've even done that when one time I was traveling way up in North India in the Himalayas, and I wondered whether I should go to this other place of pilgrimage you can go through from where I was. It was difficult, and I had a time factor, and I was thinking, so I just took this little book of Matthuvani, and I thought, okay, Ma, speak to me. I just opened it up, and it said, still remember the passage. Ma said, in developing devotion, you have to develop a relationship with God. And you do this by praying to him. The words just came out, go on pilgrimage. You know, I said, okay, Ma told me what to do. You know, so it's true. We can allow Ma to speak to us in various ways. If we can really calm the mind and sit quietly in the heart, we'll feel her voice, but also we can do that. We can just ask her. I was one time having a very difficult time in this one ashram, and I was in the library, I was looking for what book to read, and there was really literally just this one book just lit up, and I pulled it out, and it was Ma's words, and she had just exact words I needed to hear at the time. So Ma will come to us if we just keep our eyes open, you know, and watch how she's going to communicate with us, because sometimes it's very subtle. Yeah. Good. Well, we'd like to follow things. Let's do one more kirtan, and you see Ma these days, that is not in a physical body, she gives darshan through her photos. And in my travels, I've had so many people come up to me and say, you know, I didn't know who Ma was, and I just saw this photo, and it spoke to me and lit up, and all these things. You know, so Ma many times now works through her photos. So let's do another kirtan and think of and just watch photos of Ma. Then we'll open up the floor to have discussion, sharing. So let's do another share screen. And I've got to turn the sound on just a second. I'm gonna turn the sound on for music, okay? Can you see start slideshow? It's so small.
Do you want me to get my glasses?
Go down. Oh, wait, one up. There you go.
Okay. I'll just do Anandamayi Ma. And we say Purna Brahma Narayani Ma. That's one of her own self-definitions, the fullness of God in human form. Anandamayi Ma, 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 Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma, Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma, Ma Ma 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 Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma, Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma, Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma, Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Om Ma, 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 Om So let's just sit quietly for a few minutes. We can keep the pictures of Ma going. We can sit with the eyes closed or eyes open, and let's do what Ma said and just do japa of God's name. However, whatever mantra we use, or we can use Om Ma. We would just sing a beautiful mantra, breathing it in with the breath. Om Ma mentally, Om Ma exhaling. Let's just sit for a few minutes and just let our consciousness be permeated with Ma's presence. is Ma's pranam mantra, which means, you who take us across this ocean of existence, through the embodiment of bliss, you hold knowledge and devotion in your hands to that eternal mother we bow. Shri Shri Anandamayi Mata Ki Jai. Very nice. So now we've done Ma's work. We've remembered her devotees. We've remembered her life. We've remembered her words. And we practiced a little bit of what she told us to do. So now let's have the floor open to share. We would love to hear. Now, let's be sure now we're keeping this on the subject of Anandamayi Ma, because there's many things to talk about today, but we're concentrating on Ma and her presence and her teachings. So if there's any questions, any comments about the readings, if you'd like to share how Ma has touched your life, anything you like that's relevant to the subject, we'd love to hear it, people. There, Arpita, you have your hand. And see, you can look in reactions down here and just hold up your hand or just unmute and speak. But Arpita, did you have something to share?
Yeah, I mentioned this to you as well as Prajnath. Recently, I was had to go to the emergency room, and any of you've been in there, it's very cold. It's like a meat locker in there. And I was in a room, and I guess it was about midnight. I heard from another room a man. It sounded like an elderly man. And he was yelling, ma, 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 mommy, ma, 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 why, ma, all these different variations of ma. And I just thought that it was really remarkable. And I felt like it was awesome and shocking and surprising that that happened. And I was grateful for it. But at the same time, I was kind of on the verge of falling asleep. So I felt a little bit annoyed in some ways because I was on the verge of sleeping, but I finally fell asleep. And then when I woke up, it was gone. I don't know if he was, I assume he was gone. And I don't think he was a Ma devotee, but he was calling for Ma. So in whatever form it was that he was, that he was envisioning the mother, the universal mother. But to me, that was a very remarkable experience and reassuring in some ways. Like it kind of, the coin an old phrase, it kind of blew me away. So, yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. Yeah, the universal mother is more and more being understood these days in society. I mean, Ma said it was very important that this divine feminine aspect comes out in society and comes out in people's lives. Who knows? Maybe he was an Anandamayi Ma devotee. You never know. It's beautiful. But I'm glad you're better now. First of all, and thank you for sharing that, Arpita. Anyone else have a question? Why don't you just unmute if you have a question and just speak up, or another question? Just anything you'd like to share. We're family here. This is our community. Feel free.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, Randy.
Can you hear me? Let's just see. I'd like to hear some of your experiences, if you're willing to share it. Like I do things during the day to connect with Ma, and every night before I go to bed, I do tratak with her. But I noticed that like I will pick up a book. I'll feel drawn to pick up a book on Ramana Maharshi, and I'll get very deeply drawn into love with him, or another divine being. And then my relationship with Ma or Neem Curly Baba will take it'll still be there, but that being is now in my consciousness, and it seems like I'm doing a lot of work with them. So what does Ma say about that, and what has been some of your experiences around when you're learning about another divine being and being with them, how you relate to them.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Randy. It brings us back to this question of religious sectarianism, which is a curse of all religions, and how Ma was the exact antidote of that. Because like we said, with Ma, everything came from unity and went back into unity. And she talked about just the oneness of all teachers, the oneness of everything. It's all his manifestation. So it's a wonderful place to come from and go from, because that leaves us so much beautiful latitude in our spiritual life. On an issue, we don't want to be like we call them the California butterflies, who flip from this week I'm a Buddhist, this week I'm a Sufi, and we just and never really concentrate on anything. We should have our core practice, from our guru or from Ma or from something that we figured out works. Have that as our practice, our concentration, our focus point. But then from there, however, we will be led to different things. Like I like to read every night before I go to sleep, some spiritual book to put them in the mood. I just finished reading one of the books, one of the many books I have on Ramana Maharshi myself. And I find reading about Ramana is not at all contradictory to anything Ma said, because he's so clear. It's very adviting, but he also talks about bhakti sometime also. But his words, he was in such a perfect state of unity, of divine unity, that his words bring you into that state. But I don't feel it in any way affects my communication with Ma. There are times when I sometimes get into some of the Christian saints, and I'll be thinking about them, praying to them and things. And Ma is always there in the background. I always see that Ma is all of this too. She emphasizes over and over that there's just not another. And that in this beautiful Catholic view, Catholic in the sense of universal view, it's what we need in the world today. We have our own path, we have our own practice, but we can really learn and respect all these other paths and learn from them. And Ramana Maharshi, when Ma went down to, Ma didn't meet him in the body. She met most of the other saints, but she was in kind of inner communion with him. And she went the second time to South India. She stayed most of the time in North India. I think in 1951, 1 year after he left his body, and they were just making the big hall outside his samadhi, and she strewed flowers over the foundation. And at that time, many of the original disciples of Bhagavan Ramana were still alive. So they just fell in love with Ma. They said, we found our Bhagavan again, because they could recognize, since they'd been with Ramana Maharshi, they could recognize that radiance of illumined consciousness. So they saw it in Ma also. So yeah, so I don't think there's any. We will be drawn to certain teachers, and Ma will speak to us through other teachers too. Like Gloria was saying, through a Kabira poem, it spoke to her. Ma will speak to us through other teachers and through other writings also. So Ma was so universal. We keep her in mind. We keep concentrating on her, but we allow her to guide us in many different ways. Yeah. Does that make sense? You still awake, Randy?
Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. And it's just what's interesting is because the energy of Ma, or for me, or Neem Curly Baba, it'll be there but very distant. And I'm so in with Bhagavan, let's say, or if I'm reading something about Jesus Christ. So but I feel like it's what you said is true, to have our core practices, and then we're learning, or we're getting darshan from these different beings, and they're helping us in different ways. But I want to hear from other people who've been on the path, practicing too, what has been their experiences with this.
As I say, it's not good to just flip from path to path and do a little bit of that, a little bit of that. We should stick to that, our core practice, and when we enter a path, we should try to go deeply into it. But like Gloria and I, we like to keep satsang. We have very little time. We work hard, and so with the time we have, we try to be with devotees. And so, let's think. On Thursday night, we went to a Sufi zikr. And again, this is based on our daily core practice, But we went to a Sufi zikr, and we're very uplifted by praying with the Sufis, La ilaha illallah, in Arabic, We went this morning to the Russian Orthodox Church liturgy, where we prayed, to Jesus Christ, and we'll go to a Sikh Gurdwara next Sunday and sing Shabbats with them. So keeping our core daily practice, we're able to appreciate all these other paths and find God in them. And mainly, we want to keep satsang. We want to be with devotees who are remembering God, who have a spiritual practice, and not just with people who are engrossed in the world and not seeing the divine. So we want to remember God, and we want to be with people who remember God. So it's good. It's good. These days we can be more eclectic, but not in the sense of the flitting around from flower to flower. The sense of being really sincere in each thing we do, and keeping our core practice as that heart of our life. And you mentioned like trying to remember Ma. There's so many ways that devotees find to trick the mind into remembering God. And it's really one. I like a practice that Ma herself suggested. She said, when you get out of bed, before your feet touch the ground, bow first to the earthy mother, to Mother Earth, who allows you to walk on her and is so kind to support you, and your body is made of the earth element, so you bow to her, and then you bow to the Heavenly Mother. So I do that first thing. I put my feeling out there. Thank you, Mother, and I say, thank you, Mother of my soul. And I think of both Ma and the Virgin Mary to me, or the Heavenly Mothers to me. And so you get both sides that way. That's how you start the day. And throughout the day, you can just remember things. You can, like I have a picture of Ma on my dashboard of my car, so I remember her. I sing the Ma Chalisa on the way to work. You can do it. Of course, the main thing is you remember your mantra as often as you can. That was the last thing Ma said to me. I've told you this many times, those of you who have been here a lot, that the last interview I had with Ma, a private interview, I asked her about certain things, and she looked at me and she said, do japa all the time. It's saying this name of God all the time. Try to do it. It's a lifelong effort to try to learn that skill and that science, but it's worth making the effort. So throughout the day, my dear friend Hari Priya, whose ashes I put into the Ganga a few years ago, she came to mind in 1960. Can you imagine? And she passed away just in the 90s. She would work, and she would come back, and she would work and get some money and come back to India and spend like anywhere from 6 months to a year traveling with Ma, and then go back and make some more money and come back. She spent her last part of her life doing that. It was so wonderful. And she would do things like she would put a rock in her shoe. So whenever she felt that rock, it reminded her to say her mantra. She would do extreme things like that. It's just to remember to say the mantra, So devotees will come up with ways to remember God, And it's important. And Ma told us to do it. Now, how do you do it? We've mentioned this before, that somebody once said to Ma, Ma, you've told us that God is beyond the senses, beyond the mind. The mind cannot comprehend God. We can't even comprehend the distance between here and the sun. What is it, 93 million miles? The mind can't comprehend that vastness. How do we comprehend the universe? How do we comprehend God? So they said, Ma, you told us the mind cannot think of God. He's too great. She is too great. So what do we do? And then with the next breath, you say, think of God all the time. So it seems like oh, how do we do this? And she laughed and she smiled and she said, it's a very good question. She said, it's true, the thought of God is beyond the mind, but God has left us two things, Nam and Avatar. Nam is the divine name. Every tradition, like we were talking about the Sufi tradition, the Sikh tradition, the Christian tradition, and of course the Hindu tradition has so many. Every tradition has sacred names of God. So remember a name that's dear to us. Like we say, oh Ma, it's wonderful. And then the avatar is the descent into the world of God. So we can remember either Jesus or Krishna or Ram. Or we think of Ma as our avatar, because she's Purna Brahma Narayan, she's an avatar. So we can remember God through that touch point of the divine incarnation and the divine name. And that's how we remember God. And so we just have to think of ways throughout the day to do that. Any other sharing? We have some more time. Please.
Nishkala has her hand up.
Yes, please. Nishkala.
Hi, I have quite a brief story here, but there's a dear friend that I speak to almost weekly by phone. And the last call, about just 7 days ago, somehow he started to share, I may have asked, about Anandamayi Ma, because he met her once when he was in India at an ashram, not her ashram, but he was going to Bombay to get some gifts for his family. I think maybe he was going to be going home soon. And he ran into this Frenchman who was also at that ashram, but was going to visit Ma. And it was at some area around Mumbai, at somebody's home, at a private home. And turns out there were only 20 people there. This was in 76, I think. And he felt bad. He didn't have any fruit or flowers for her. He's very thoughtful that way, but he didn't know that he was going to be going. And he said he was so moved. She sat in the car for quite a long time before she came out. And she ended up offering him 3 pieces of fruit. And he spoke, he told the story very detailed. His memory was very clear about it. But he said for the next 2 weeks, he went back to the ashram where he was staying. And for the next 2 weeks, there was just this, he was very close to Christ as a child. He said, from his description of her, he said, she's not, you can't pinpoint her. He doesn't have, she sees, she said, she almost, I felt she was seeing through me. And so what he experienced the next 2 weeks was this fullness of Christ.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's just bathing in Christ. And this woman came to him, he was doing his seva, and he mentioned that he had just seen her, and she started to sob because she so wanted to meet her. And so he gave her the 3rd piece of fruit that he didn't eat.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes, he's a gorgeous man. This man is just.
Where does he live?
He lives in Kentucky, in Louisville.
What's his name? I may even know him.
He's not of the community. He just had that experience. We were on retreat a while years ago, and he had her picture with him. He had his experience. He's kind of private in a certain way that way, but it was enough for him. I mean, it lasted a lifetime, that experience for him, that alone. And he has her books, the books. He's a big collector of books. But what I want to say about that, beyond that, and he told very detailed, I won't get into it all, but the feeling while we were on this call was so large. It was so full. I was meeting her through him.
Wow.
And it was like I was re-experiencing it with him. And I said, we're invoking her here. Or he said, it's like we're invoking her. It was just so obvious, her presence. And so a few days later, I decided to go look online for pictures. I wanted to have a picture of her. And I found this it's that one, actually. It's the one in your home right there. Just the face stuff. And as I was it was quite large on my screen, and transmission, whatever you want to call it, but there was such love poured into this entire body mind. And it was very fast. I mean, it was just this gentle, I'm feeling it now again. And I was feeling it, Jane. This gentle love bath. And I had to go upstairs for a moment, then I came back and I looked at the picture again, and this was feeling the same experience. Not that it left. I was living in it, and it was living in me, whatever. I bought the picture, but and it turns out I know the person who's selling it, which was a surprise. And we spoke for a good while after that online, and it was just this amazing experience sharing with him. He felt moved to make prints. He's a photographer, to make prints for people of her, actual physical prints. And then I went out. I just had to go out to the lake and take a walk, but it hasn't left, this experience of I mean, I have a long resume of spiritual resume. It's not like this is the first time ever. And there's been other teachers, profound connection. But I've been dry for a good many years now. It was really not a good situation. I mean, it felt like godless life, which I'd never experienced in many, many years for quite a long time. And I've been asking for heart again, heart. How can you live without it? You know?
Yeah.
So it was just, I don't want to put too many words on this, but you know what I'm speaking of. Just love poured in, bliss, whatever we want to call it. But there's peace now here. There's peace, there's a contentment here. I can't wait to get the picture. I still haven't gotten it yet. But every morning also I found there's so much about her online. I'm just like,
on YouTube, there's loads of videos.
oh my goodness. And there's this gorgeous series of pictures with a gorgeous chant. It's just like heaven. Mukta or something. I don't know. I have it saved and it's the first thing I listen to in the morning. I listened to it. It's about 6 minutes. And so I listened to it 3 times and chanted with it. Very simple. Bhagavate. Bhagavate. Namo Bhagavate. Anyway, it's a gorgeous, it's love itself, the chant. So that's my connection.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, I love hearing things like this. We just Ma is so active still. And like we said earlier, she lives through her photos. That's where she gives darshan now. And so I hear this so often in different people's experiences where this Ma's photos just spoke to them. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really beautiful.
Well, it's just very fresh and recent too, so I thought I would. And I was so happy yesterday to see that you were having this meeting. I was like, I was very pleased.
Good. Well, we're here every 3rd Sunday. It's interesting you mentioned also
every 3rd Sunday?
Every 3rd Sunday, yeah.
Oh, not every Sunday.
No, every 3rd Sunday of the month. The connection with Ma and Christ is very interesting too. I lived in India for 12 years in Ma's ashram, and I've been back and forth to India since the 70s. I don't know how many times I've gone, but anyway, in my many times I was there, I found that Ma kept showing me her devotees wherever I travel, and I travel extensively. I just always run across people who were Ma's devotees. It was interesting. I mean, I was one time staying with the Baba up in the Himalayas in Gothri. And he said, what ashram are you from? I said, Anandamayi Ma. He said, oh, I had Ma's darshan many times. And then there was a couple in the back of this cave, and they said, oh, yes, I grew up near Ma. It was like, but what struck me was one time I was in Rishikesh, and I walked by a Catholic church. It was Sunday, and they were having Mass. I thought, let's go in and listen to the Mass. So I went into the Mass, and there was an Indian nun there, but she was dressed as a sannyasini. She was wearing getawa, that orange color, but she was a Catholic nun. And she was singing some chant, a beautiful chant. We're very Indian. And so after the Mass, I talked to her, and she said, oh, come have lunch in our convent. And they were kind of an Indiafied, they were all Indians, but they'd taken the Catholic Mass and slightly Indiafied it, if that's a word. In other words, they had like Indian music, and they made it a little more integrated into Indian culture. And so I was eating lunch at this nice little convent with these nuns, these Roman Catholic nuns, and looking on the wall, and there's a picture of Anandamayi Ma. I said, that's my guru, that's Ma. And she said, oh, we love Ma. And she said they were at their convent somewhere near Mumbai, and Ma visited them, just came to show her the door, and they took her into the chapel, and they showed her, and they just loved her and talked to her, And then she sat in the chapel alone for a while, and she came out and she said, when I was a young girl, I used to visit the missionaries' tents because they were singing to Jesus, and I had a vision of Jesus. He showed me many, many things, but I just finished that vision just now. I came back and he came again and showed me this and that and that, And she would say, in Christ is everything. It's really very interesting. And she said, these distinctions of one religion being better than another, they said, these great beings are so beyond that. That's in the mind.
Yes, of course.
So there's very much a connection between Ma and Christ also. It's very interesting. Very
beautiful. Yeah, well, I'm just so grateful.
Well, we have time for maybe one more sharing if someone else has something.
I just want to say one thing, Nishkala, we're so grateful that you're here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say, if you want to be on our mailing list, it would be great to put your email in the chat.
Okay.
So that we have it.
Thank you. And by the way, this other person I messaged with who makes the pictures, he recommended your book.
That's funny.
Because I
Wow.
asked, what do you recommend a book? And he said, this one, Gospel.
Wow.
Good, good.
But also we do have we are now have satsang every 2 weeks. I wanted to say that one comes out of Mangalananda and Gloria's house. The other comes out of this one here on the first Sunday of the month. So if you put your email in there, you'll get all our mailings about the retreat and about the whole thing.
Wonderful. Thank
Very
you.
good. And you're right near us. Please do join us in upstate New York at the end of September for our month.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll check my calendar and see what's possible.
Like Peggy said, we're very happy with this. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I am too. I am very pleased.
So anyone else have any sharing a question? We have a short time and then we'll end up. Nothing to share? No thoughts, no questions? Okay.
I wonder if I could ask.
Yes, please.
I'm intrigued really to know how Anandamayi Ma connected with Buddhists who are, I can't say they're atheists but they don't talk about God, and I just wonder how she negotiated that. She obviously got on with everyone, but I just wonder if that was ever an issue or how she coped with it, because God was so central to her own philosophy.
Can I say something? Because I'm a Buddhist and I spent time with Anandamayi Ma in 1973 and 1976.
Wow.
And I think it really depends on what your definition of God is and how you connect with that. And many Buddhists talk about Buddha nature. Buddha nature can also be referred to as God. And I got specific instructions from Ma in 1973. Was with her in 73 and 76. And so I just wanted to clarify that. There are also other Buddhists, for example, Aya Jayasara, who is a very ecumenical Theravada nun. And she recognizes and is also devoted to Ma as well as other beings, primarily female manifestations. So I don't know if that answers your question, but really it depends on what your definition of God is. But the Buddha nature encompasses what's the self. You could say, you could make that analogy with the higher self with a capital S.
Yeah,
so
that's all true. I just wonder how whether Anandamayi Ma.
Yes, it's true. As Arpi just said, it's very true. The Buddha, Ma many times says the Buddha is the embodiment of enlightenment. She said that. And the Buddha didn't talk about God because he didn't want to get into these dogmatic discussions which are going on today, so he just gave practical things to end suffering and to control the mind and find that true nature. I know I read one time, I wasn't there personally, but I read one time that Ma was giving a satsang, and suddenly she began speaking, saying the same things, but in a very different way than she usually spoke. And people were kind of perplexed. She was saying these great, profound truths, but in a very different way of expressing them. And people who were there, her regular devotees thought, oh, it's Ma speaking in a very different way today. And it found out that afterwards, there was a group of about 6 or 8 Buddhist monks that had come and were listening. And they came up to her after and she said, you expressed yourself exactly as in our scriptures. It was just word for word almost. So she just picked up on their needs and was expressing it in a way that they could understand it. So again, anyone could relate to Ma. Ma's teachings are they're very practical. It is true, they're theocentric in the sense that she consciously as a member of God. But then she also speaks in very practical ways that are very complementary to Buddhist teachings. We have a Buddhist nun here. Who's it on? I can't remember her name. She's a Theravada Buddhist nun here who has a small monastery, small convent here in the Bay Area. I first met her at a Nanda ashram in Kerala. And she found out I was from Anandamayi Ma ashram, and she said, we love Anandamayi Ma. And I gave her a copy of my book I wrote about her. And she put it in the library, and I'm still in contact with her. And her whole group loves reading about Ma. And they're very strict Theravada Buddhist nuns. And they love reading about Ma. And they love my book. It was interesting. So again, there's a connection everywhere, even with Buddhists. So no way.
Did Anandamayi Ma use the terms Atman and Brahman?
Oh yeah, very often. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. We've basically run out of time. We like to keep it to 2 hours. We don't want to keep monopolize someone's full day. So thank you all for coming to be with us and remember Ma with us. And we're here every third Sunday, and as Pragya said, every first Sunday. Please put your name in the mailing list, and we can put you on our mailing list. And Pragya is having regular classes on Ma, and slowly going through her book about Ma, which is called, the first book was called Mother of Bliss. So Pragya, you want to give a final word about how to contact and be in your list also?
Sure. Our lists are at this point, are quite overlapping. So if you put your email in here on this site, then you'll be on both our lists. It's no problem. But
excuse me, go ahead. Finish.
But I think Saraswati put in our ashram mailing list, our ashram website earlier on in the chat, and also what was the other thing? The programs that we're offering in the fall. If you go back in the chat now, you'll see that Saraswati put those in right at the beginning of our time. Here's the newsletter of all our events, and yeah. So you can get those off of here.
And Saraswati, if I don't have, I'm away from the computer now. If you could please copy the chat with people's emails and send it to Pragya, and I would appreciate it. Thank you. Because Rainer's not here. Okay, so thank you all. God bless. If you want to unmute and say goodbye, I'm always happy to see everybody. And thank you, Katya, for their wonderful contribution of the kirtans, and Pragya and Saraswati for being with us, guiding us all. And stay in touch. We're your community. We're your Ma family.
Is the Facebook the only place you post about this meeting?
I put out a newsletter every month of the different events I'm doing. I do live kirtan here and there with my band also. And
how do you get your newsletter?
Put your name in the chat. See the chat there?
You put it. Yeah. She put her. Yeah, your name is in the chat, so we'll both put you on our list.
Yeah. And so is what you will send this to us.
Good. Thank you.
Very good. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Mr. Tico Jema.
Take care, Will. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Jema.